Well, shalom, shalom. Welcome, welcome, world changers. And thank you, Hannah, for the beautiful music. As always, thank you for blessing us with your talent. Tonight, we're going to pick up from the Book of Enoch there. We left off there a few days ago. We're going to, before that, we're going to get into our critical thinking segment as always. I pray that everything that we share here today would be a great blessing to you, increase your knowledge of the scriptures, your knowledge of the things of heaven, your relationship with God, and your knowledge of the truth. Amen, amen, amen. All right, well, let's see what we have here in the live chat before we get into the thick of it here. Calamento says shalom to all. Seek the Lord says shalom. Huberts says shalom. Well, shalom, shalom, welcome. And blessings to y'all. Blessings multiplied to you and your families. Okay, well, before, so there's a couple things I'd like to announce, and that is this coming Thursday, we have this will be our fasting, the first day of a 3-day fast, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Lord willing. So that's Thursday, September 18th, Friday, September 19th, and Saturday, September 20th. So we're going to be fasting during those days. We're going to fast and pray and read the scriptures. Of course, we're not going to do our regular thing, like through the Book of Enoch, or like go through the Bible, if you will, as we usually do. But we will be reading scriptures, talking about things, praying for one another. If you have any personal prayer requests, please feel free to let me know. Send me an email. The email is christopherenoch@proton.me. That's christopherenoch@proton.me. So you can send me an email that way, and then we can pray. We'll pray for you. During those days of fasting and prayer. If you want me to leave you your prayer request as a private or an anonymous prayer request, please let me know, and I will honor that. Otherwise, we can pray that as a group, and please let everyone else know as well, because I'm not going to really get into too much of the controversial stuff and that kind of thing. Like, who knows? Maybe we might get into it a little bit. I don't know. Hey, we'll just let God do what He does. But I'm thinking of more of an open kind of stream that anybody that would like to fast and pray, anybody who is a prayer warrior, if you will, anybody who loves to pray, and anybody who can fast can join us and feel comfortable in doing that. So yeah, let everyone know about that. And I'll be streaming the regular times. That'll be Thursday and Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. All right. Okay, I'm also going to post, Lord willing, I will post a members-only poll before the fasting for more of, just like your feedback for those of you who are members of the channel in regards to some of the things that we'll be doing that time. So I will post a poll in the near future, so you can look forward to that. All right. And by the way, if you are a returning viewer, if you will, and if you have not become a member yet, please consider becoming a member. It is very nominal, very, very affordable, and it's just a matter of clicking the join button underneath on YouTube, or clicking the link in the description on YouTube, on Facebook, on Rumble. I think there's a couple other ones as well that you can use the link there as well, which will take you to the page in which you can become a member, or you can select which tier you want to use to support what we're doing here. And for those of you who are supporting, again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It is much needed and much appreciated. You are the ones that are fueling, energizing what's going on here. Thank you, and blessings multiplied to you and yours. Speaking of thanks, Cubert says, thank you, Sister Hannah. Always beautiful music. Well, thank you on behalf of Hannah Cuberts. She appreciates that. Okay. I'm thinking about Wednesday. Wednesday, we're going to have live music, Lord willing. We were practicing a little bit earlier today as well, and we got a new song. Lord willing, we'll get it going and up live on Wednesday. Okay, well, let's get into this. And by the way, if you haven't shared the live stream and you feel led to do so, now's a good time to share the live stream. Share. Let's get everyone on board. Okay, so we are live on Kick. We're live on Facebook, Twitch, DLive, Rumble, Trovo, Instagram, BitChute, X, on YouTube as well. Hubert says, new song, can't wait. All right, well, thank you, Huberts. I am testing something out as well. Trying to think of how we're going to do this. I'm going to make this available for you members, and I'm doing this on the fly. This is just a test of a new feature here, a new well, not a new stream, but a new. It's a new stream, but you'll see what I mean. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a post right now as I speak. And it's so new, like I just started this just a little bit before I press go live here. And so what we're doing here, I'm testing having a vertical version of the stream on YouTube as well. So if it goes well, we'll have both a vertical and a horizontal version simultaneously playing on the on YouTube. So I'm going to make this post here. Give me a second, folks. Okay, and I'm going to post this in the live chat. I'm going to post a link to it. So this is a link to a members only post on YouTube that has another link. Please excuse the link upon link here, but I just wanted to make sure that those of you who are members here have the ability to see this at least first and give me some feedback on this. So there you have it, folks. There's a link to the post on YouTube, which will give you a link to the vertical version of what we're doing here tonight. And let me know what you think. Be brutally honest, if you will. Let me know what you think there. The idea here is just to spread our wings a little bit further as a fellowship, and I know some people, they don't really like the horizontal version, like the old-fashioned horizontal version, if you will. They, especially doing like scrolling, they only like the vertical versions of live streams. Some people like that. So just to cover all bases, let me know what you think, guys. Let me know if it works, or whatever the case is. All right, well, let's get into this. Critical thinking skills, critical thinking segment. A common myth is that to be a good thinker, you must be a cold, logical, unemotional machine. But the truth is that that emotional intelligence isn't the enemy of critical thinking. It's one of the most powerful and essential tools. The master detective. Imagine a detective investigating a complex case. A novice detective might focus only on the physical evidence, the fingerprints, the timeline, the forensic reports. This is the logic of the case, and it's absolutely essential. But a master detective does more. They are also an expert in emotional intelligence. They can read the subtle hesitation in a witness's voice, sense the arrogance or fear behind a suspect's alibi, and understand the powerful human motives: jealousy, greed, love, rage, that don't show up in a lab report. A master detective knows that to solve the whole case, you have to analyze both the physical evidence and the emotional evidence. A great critical thinker, likewise, learns to use both pure reason and emotional intelligence to get closer to the truth. 4 tools of an emotionally intelligent thinker. Emotional intelligence provides us with at least 4 indispensable tools for our critical thinking toolkit. Number 1, self-awareness, knowing your own biases. This is the ability to recognize and understand your own emotions as they happen. A great detective knows their own triggers and blind spots before they even start an investigation. The critical thinking skill, self-awareness, is your internal bias detector. As you read an article or listen to an argument, you can notice the subtle emotional shifts within yourself. You can feel the hot flash of anger when a cherished belief is challenged, defensiveness. You can feel the pleasant warm glow when you hear something that confirms what you already think, confirmation bias. The payoff, the ability to silently say to yourself, I'm feeling defensive right now, and that might be clouding my judgment, is a superpower. Without this skill, your emotions are invisible puppet masters controlling your thoughts. Number 2, self-management, not letting your biases drive the car. It's not enough to know you feel an emotion. You have to be able to manage your response to it. A detective might feel anger toward a subject, but you can't let that anger cause them to violate the rules of evidence. The critical thinking skill. This is the ability to create a space between an emotional impulse and a rational response. You notice the feeling of defensiveness, self-awareness, and you make a conscious choice not to lash out with a sarcastic comment. You feel the comfortable pull of confirmation bias, but you have the discipline to seek out contradictory evidence anyway. The payoff. Self-management is what allows your rational mind to stay in the driver's seat, even when your emotions are trying to grab the wheel. Number 3, social awareness, reading the witnesses. This is the skill of empathy, the ability to accurately sense and understand the emotional reality of other people. The critical thinking skill. When someone is making an argument, are you only listening to the logical structure of their words, or are you also perceiving the emotional subtext? Is this person speaking from a place of confident knowledge or from a place of deep-seated fear? Is their argument driven by a search for truth or by a personal hurt? The payoff. Understanding the emotion why behind someone's argument gives you a much deeper and more accurate context for evaluating their claims. Number 4, relationship management, building a bridge for the truth. This is the ability to use your awareness of your own and others' emotions to build rapport and navigate conversations effectively. The critical thinking skill. You can have the most brilliant, logical, and evidence-based argument in the world, but if you present it with arrogance or insensitivity, it will fail. People are not persuaded by facts alone. This skill is what makes your critical thinking effective. The payoff. Emotional intelligence helps you build a bridge of trust so that the truth can travel across it. Logic tells you what to say, but emotional intelligence tells you how and when to say it so that it can actually be heard. Today's challenge. A critical thinker who ignores emotion is only doing half the job. The wisest minds are those that can skillfully integrate reason and emotion. Your challenge for today is to practice the first and most foundational tool, self-awareness. The next time you have a strong emotional reaction to an idea, from a piece of news, a comment, or something you read, hit the pause button. Silently ask yourself 2 questions. What is the name of this feeling? Anger, excitement, anxiety? What specifically might have triggered it? The goal isn't to change or judge the feeling, it's simply to investigate it like a detective. This simple act of noticing and naming is the first step to ensuring your emotions serve your thinking instead of ruling it. There you go, folks. Our critical thinking segment of the day. Okay. How are things going over on that vertical live? Vertical live? All right. Okay, one person said it's okay there, over there. It's not listed, okay, so just so you know, it's an unlisted YouTube live stream. It's not available, it's not really viewable to the public. So just in case you're wondering, it's basically a private stream just to test it, to see if it, to see how it works and if it works well. Okay, so tonight we are going to read the Book of Enoch, chapter 91 through 95. Perhaps even more than that if we have time. We're going to read from 2 different translations. One is the R.H. Charles and the other one is the Richard Lawrence. The Richard Lawrence translation is numbered differently. The chapters are numbered differently. Chapter 91 in the Richard Lawrence translation is chapter 92 in the R.H. Charles. Therefore, chapter 91 in the R.H. Charles is chapter 90 in the Richard Lawrence translation. So let's start with the Richard Lawrence translation tonight, and then we're going to read R.H. Charles. I think what I'll do is I'll read through this one first, and then we'll go through. You know what? No, let's go through Okay, we're talking about this the other day. Um, Here we are. This one here, chapter 91. Okay. So this will be the R.H. Charles translation. We'll go through this. I do have some visuals, some visual video clips as we go along. I'll play a few here or there, and that'll give us a little bit of visuals as well as we go along. Okay. Okay. So this is the R.H. Charles version of the Book of Enoch, chapter 91, verse 1. And now, my son Methuselah, call to me all your brothers and gather together to me all the sons of your mother. You might say, what's this talking about? What's going on here? I need some context. Okay, so this is the Book of Enoch, which is supposed to be a book that was written by Enoch, the Enoch of Genesis, the book of Genesis. And so Enoch's son was Methuselah. He named his son Methuselah because as a prophet, Enoch knew that when this boy grows up and gets old and passes away, when this boy passes away, it will bring the judgment of God on earth. Thank you for sharing there, Voice of One on TikTok. Appreciate that. Blessings to you and yours. Yeah, so the name Methuselah means his death shall bring. His death shall bring. That's what it means. So it's actually a prophetic name. And if you look it up, it actually is, that's how it happened. Methuselah lived, well, according to the Masoretic text anyway, because the Masoretic is different than the Septuagint, which is different than the Samaritan, and different than the, we got so many different manuscript variations, and the ages and years of these manuscripts vary greatly, okay? But the typical Masoretic Hebrew has Methuselah living the longest of all of the children of all of the men in history. Methuselah lived the longest, and when he died, the flood of Noah came. So this is Enoch lived long before Noah. Okay, Enoch lived before Noah. Noah lived before Abraham. Abraham lived before the children of Israel. Right? The children of Israel, at least in their beginnings, Jacob and his 12 sons lived before Moses, and on it goes. So we're way back in time, at least how it is supposed to be anyway, like 5,000 years ago. And now, my son Methuselah, call to me all your brothers and gather together to me all the sons of your mother. For the word calls me, and the Spirit is poured out upon me, that I may show you everything that shall befall you forever. And thereupon Methuselah went and summoned to him all his brothers and assembled his relatives. And he spake unto the children of righteousness and said, so the children of righteousness are the Tzaddikim, the righteous people. Okay, so we have the wicked people, the sons of Belial, and then we have the righteous people. the children of righteousness. He spake unto the children of righteousness and said, Hear, sons of Enoch, all the words of your father. Excuse me. Hearken aright to the voice of my mouth. For I exhort you and say unto you, beloved, love righteousness and walk therein, and draw near to uprightness with a double heart, and associate not with those of a double heart, but walk in righteousness, my sons, and it shall guide you on good paths, and righteousness shall be your companion. For I know that violence must increase on the earth, and a great chastisement be executed on the earth, and all unrighteousness come to an end. Very, very important point. This is talking about the flood of Noah. But notice that it uses all-inclusive language, like all unrighteousness shall come to an end. Okay? Now somebody might say, well, that's talking about the happy ever after kind of thing, where it's like there's no more unrighteousness ever. No, that's not what it means, of course. It just means there will be a time within a certain context, within a certain place, that unrighteousness will come to an end. Doesn't mean it won't start again, but it will come to an end, and that's what we know of according to the story of the flood. Hello over there on TikTok. Welcome. So we're reading from the Book of Enoch here. For I know that violence must increase on the earth, and a great chastisement be executed on the earth. Again, this is talking about the flood of Noah. And all unrighteousness come to an end. So the point here is, this is a good example that we should never read the scriptures as if, we should never like cherry pick certain pieces of certain verses and use that to support a doctrine that we preach. We should never practice scriptural isolation, meaning that we should, that we'll just pick out a certain piece of the verse and we won't consider the fact that it doesn't say, it's not an all-inclusive thing. Like, what I mean is, like, for example, let's just say this Book of Enoch is legit. And let's just say that the people read this before the flood. And let's just say that this is for real. Like, Enoch himself was talking to his descendants here about the coming flood. Now, if they interpret scripture like a lot of Christians do today, they would say, look at this, all unrighteousness will come to an end. That means, hey, happily ever after, we're never going to see sin again. Nowhere ever are we ever going to see sin again, because it says all unrighteousness will come to an end. But here's the thing. It doesn't say it will not start again. It just says it will come to an end, meaning in a very limited context. Chipmunk says shalom and great job, Hannah. Well, shalom, welcome and blessings to you. And thank you on behalf of Hannah. Blessings. Hope all is well. Hubert says, do you believe the flood was the majority of the world? Ooh, another very good question, Hubert. So you got some really good questions. Yeah, so I used to believe very, very strongly, rewind the clock 20, 30 years. And if you were to ask me this question, I would say, I would say, of course, it's the entire. It says the whole world. It says the whole earth, right? I would say, of course, it's the whole earth. That's the way. That's the story of Noah's flood. And I would be super strong. I would stick to it like crazy. I would dig in my heels if anybody ever argued against that. Over the course of years of reading the scriptures, actually, you know what? You know where it started for me? It started with my in-depth study on the Tower of Babel. I still have that old video up on YouTube. It was like, how many years ago now? I forget now how many years ago. At least 7, 8 years ago. I did a video on the Tower of Babel, and I was searching through all of the words, and just going into the Hebrew and going into all the different Hebrew meanings and lexicon and dictionaries, and then I get into the history of the linguistics and languages and where they all come from, and like historically speaking. So I dug into that really, really, really deep. And then I noticed something. I noticed a couple things. Historically speaking, there were different languages that existed before the whole Babel story, Tower of Babel and all that stuff. So that kind of threw a little bit of a wrench into my beliefs. And then I noticed that the word for land, because it says there was one language in all the land. So I looked up that word land in the Hebrew. This was 8 years ago or more. I forget now. It's an old video. It's still up on YouTube. I looked up the word land, and it said simply, it's the Hebrew word eretz. And it says that eretz simply means, it means land, but it can mean any piece of land. It could mean everything. It could mean the entire world. Yes. Yes, it could. Just like when I say land, it could mean the entire world. But it could mean a certain continent. It could mean a certain country. In fact, the country of Israel today calls itself Haaretz, the land. Literally calls itself by that very same Hebrew word, Eretz. It could be a county, or it could be a state or a province within a country. It could mean a community. It could mean just a city, and really, it could mean just a field. So when I found that out, I'm thinking, oh wow. So the actual Hebrew in the Tower of Babel story doesn't necessitate that it was the whole world. It just means that the whole land, whatever that means. What land are you talking about? What part of where? All of the land in the earth, or is it just a certain part of the land? So that's where it began with me. And I'm like, wow, I was shocked. And I noticed before that, so Genesis chapter 11 speaks about the Tower of Babel. That's the whole Tower of Babel story. Before that, it speaks about different languages. So even though in chapter 11 it says there's one language per se, or one tongue, echad tongue, but echad can also mean a unification of languages as well. But in the previous chapter, it does say there were different languages. So that's where it started for me. So it got real for me. Like, wow, this means it could have just been a certain part of the world, or even just the plains of Shinar. It could have just been that. That would have been Haaretz as well. So after I digested that and understood that, then down the road, I come across of course, as I study and restudy and restudy and restudy and restudy, ruminating on these scriptures. And so I come to the flood of Noah, and I knew from years ago that some people were saying the flood of Noah is local, and I'm like, You're crazy. Give me a break. It's not local. How can it be local? It says the whole it says the whole world, right? It says the whole earth. So it's not local. It says the whole earth. But the actual word that's used there is the same word, aretz. And then you take that into consideration, as well as the fact that the Titanic was much larger than Noah's Ark. Think about that. Let that one sink in. The Titanic was much larger than Noah's Ark. So, how do you get all the creatures of the world onto a vessel smaller than the Titanic? And how do you account? How do you give account to the fact that not too long after Noah's flood, the giants were still there? There were still giants. There was giants that appeared in Scripture after Noah's flood. What happened? So I always tried to, I would shoehorn my own, my own theories in it. Well, maybe maybe the Watchers came back, and maybe this, maybe that, maybe the other thing, and then. But after I thought about it for a long time and studied it, and the more I read it, the more I believe now that it is very likely, highly likely, and I use these terms very carefully because I'm not closed on this. Okay, if there is good hard evidence that I'm wrong, I will definitely change my mind. But as much as I see and know right now, it is highly likely, most likely, a local thing. It was local. And so that would easily so could you put, there's so many creatures, species of animals, of all kinds of animals on the earth. We're still finding different animals even today. There's so many different kinds of, we haven't even found them all yet. Think about that. After how many, at least thousands of years of discovering animals, we're still discovering new animals. That's how many different species there are on the earth. And this is a thing when it comes to atheists. Another thing, we spoke about Jews last night. Atheists, one of their, of course, the primary thing is, well, how can a loving, all-knowing, all-powerful God allow this and that and everything else to happen? That's their main argument. But some of their, an argument that I've heard over and over and over again from the atheist community is the argument on Noah's Ark. It's absolutely impossible, implausible, ridiculous to think that you could get even a tenth of all of the animals, even if it's only 2. And some of them were 7. And some believe it's 7 pairs. The clean animals, 7 pairs of clean animals. Wow. Imagine 7 pairs of cows. People say that giraffes are clean animals, according to the Torah. 7 pairs of giraffes. So, can you imagine if it's not like there were just 1 or 2 of each of these different kinds of animals, but it's 7 of the clean and 2 of the unclean. That even makes it even more impossible. You might say, I can hear it already. Well, but with God, all things are possible. Okay, Honey, I Shrunk the Animals. I don't know, but that's not what it says. I mean, you can make things up just to make it work. You can make it up, yeah, you know what? God shrunk all the animals down to the size of ants, and that's how he got them all on the ark. But okay, well, my response to that would be, you got a great imagination, but you know that's what's your evidence behind that, other than So I think that it's much more reasonable and plausible to say that it was a local thing. I spoke about this a little while ago. There was I had a discussion with some people about this not too long ago, and they were saying, "Well, yeah, but what? How do you account for sea life, marine life fossils on the top of mountains?" Okay, good question. To that, I would say, according to scientists, and again, please understand that science is the study of how God does things. Like, really. I don't care if the scientist is an atheist or a believer. Well, it doesn't matter to me. If they study how God does things without believing that he exists, then, well, that's their thing. But anyways, they're still studying how God does things, whether they believe that he exists or not. So they say that all the mountains, or at least I shouldn't say all the mountains, some of the mountains on Earth today formed over many years. And they say that even there are mountains today that are still increasing in height. They say Mount Everest increases 4 millimeters every year. Like, they've measured it. It just, the way the Earth moves, it just keeps on pushing it up. It just keeps on pushing up and up and up and up and up. So it goes higher and higher and higher. So the thing is, they say that those mountains with the fish fossils on the top of the mountains, these are mountains that didn't exist a long time ago. It was actually the bottom of the sea a long time ago. And then, through these geological events, earthquakes and plate shifting and such, the mountains eventually formed and pushed those fossils up to the top. And that's what they say. So we shouldn't just hand wave that away unless we have evidence that is truly not what happened. And I don't think that any believer should use that argument to prove their literal interpretation of their worldwide, the entire earth flood thing, unless they have good evidence behind that. If they have some really good evidence to support that, then sure. But other than that, I don't think it's a good idea to use that argument. So anybody, I'm focusing tonight primarily on the YouTube membership only live chat. I do see there are live chats right now where people are not liking what I'm saying. So I do my very best. I take great pains in speaking truth. I want to speak the truth no matter what, even if it hurts, okay? So if I said anything that's not true, please present evidence. Please present evidence. Now, that's not even to mention, like, for example, they say that back like 5,000 years ago in the days of Noah, approximately 5,000 years ago, somebody might, well, no, Christopher Enoch, it wasn't 5,000 years ago, it was 4,995. A lot of people just like to argue over every little thing. Christopher, it wasn't 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago. It's 5,043 years ago. Okay, so approximately 5,000 years ago, the highest mountain on Earth was still Mount Everest. Okay? Do you know how much water it would take to cover Mount Everest? It'd be like, do you know how much water that would take? Where did all that water go? What happened? That's another thing, right? It is an unfathomable amount of water. There's no way anybody can even imagine how much water that would be. Where did it all go? If it was a worldwide flood enough to cover Mount Everest, what happened? God just came down with his cosmic straw and sucked it all out? What happened? And how do you know? But if it was a local flood, then it all makes sense. It could have been a climate thing that happened, some climate event that could have been caused by some other See, God uses practical things, right? He's a very practical God. He can use an asteroid or whatever he wants to use to change the climate enough to do what he needs to do. So if it was more of a local thing, and what I mean by more of a local, let's say the entire Middle East was underwater, then it would be quite plausible that water was frozen. It dispersed throughout the earth after that, both into the air and on the ice caps of the earth, as well as into the earth. So that's quite plausible that can happen. So, Huberts, do I believe the flood was the majority of the world? To answer it as specific as I possibly can, I will say this. Nobody knows. And the people that claim to know, it's just a lot of presumption going on there, a lot of pride. The only way you can claim to know is if you're there, or you have some really, really good, like, hey man, I just came off the ark, I know, and hey, it's Noah and all of us, man, we did a world tour. We went around the whole, before Christopher Columbus, when we went around the entire world. So I don't really know. I don't know, but I think that it's most likely local. It makes much more sense in the scriptures and in history and scientifically as well. It makes much more sense to me to say it was local. And I don't mean just a city or just one country, if you will. It could have been quite big. It could have been quite a huge flood, but still relatively local. You know what I mean? Excellent question again, Cuberts. Thank you for asking. Hello, guys over there on TikTok. Chipmunk is talking to Veritas, our virtual assistant over there on YouTube. And by the way, guys, all of you can talk to Let me see if I can pull up Veritas. There we go. On the side right over here. If you got a question, you might, I don't know, somebody might want to ask it was the flood of Noah a local flood or was it a global flood? I don't know what Veritas would say. I really don't. But if you wanted to ask that question or any other question, I'm going to leave this open here, and you'll see the answer right here. Okay. And thank you, Chipmunk, for continuing to help us test Veritas. I appreciate that. Thank you. Chipmunk says, I'm okay. I fell into my pond tonight. I kept my phone above the water. That's what I get for trying to film the minnows. Uh-oh. I hope you didn't hurt yourself. I hope you're doing well and you didn't injure yourself, Chipmunk. Chipmunk says, I love the different ideas on the Tower of Babel. I personally think it has to do with technology. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it, Chipmunk. I think it could be. Very well could be. Chipmunk says, I'll have to watch that video on the tower. Okay. Thank you, Chipmunk. Chipmunk says, I've gotten headaches over the Tower of Babel, trying to figure out exactly what it means, along with many deep topics. Well, I hope my video doesn't give you a headache, but yeah, I hear you. It's really intriguing and very, very interesting. That's for sure. Chipmunk's got, she's got it for sure. The giants had paddle boats. There you go. Giant paddle boats. That's it right there. Floaties, says Cubers. Cuber says, do you know which area the flood was? Okay, so I believe that we do have evidence that there was a flood. Okay? That I can say. Whether it was worldwide or local, I will stick to. I don't see any evidence yet that it was worldwide, other than people's interpretation of the scripture that I think is the wrong interpretation because of that word arets. And every other thing, like I said, like the whole thing about the fossils on top of the mountains and that kind of thing, I think that it's demonstrably proven that those mountains formed over the course of time. So that kind of argument would not stand. Saying, oh, look at the fossils are at the top of the mountains of fossils of fish and stuff like that. It really, there's no way that argument can hold any water, because the mountains have been measurably getting higher and higher and higher. So that means at one point in time in history, those mountains would have been down flat, like as it says in the scriptures. If you take it literally in this, God raises the valleys and lowers the mountains, right? The mountains become valleys and the valleys become mountains. So the valleys that had the fish become the mountains, and the mountains become the valleys. So I'm not aware of any good argument against the idea that it's just local, or I should say, I'm not aware of any good argument that it is worldwide. I'm not aware of it. If there is a good argument out there, please let me know, because I'd love to see it. But all the evidence that I've been able to gather so far, it looks like, and trust me, it was very hard for me to change my beliefs from being super staunch, strict. No, it was worldwide, because that's the way it is, because the Word of God says so, and scientists, we have evidence, i.e. the fossils and such. We have evidence that it was and other what do they say now? The other people around the world wrote about a flood and all that kind of stuff. like the Epic of Gilgamesh and that kind of stuff. So to that, I would have questions. Like, does it match perfectly with the historical timing and dating of Noah's flood? Does it really? How do you know? Did they say that there was a flood in North America 5,000 years ago that matches the time of Noah? Is there evidence for that? You can say, well, there's writings that says that, yeah, that North America was underwater. Really? Is that what it really says? Now, just because it says it doesn't mean it's true either. Like just how, like today, you can go to the library and pick up any book on pretty much any kind of fiction you can think about, of any kind of natural disaster that never really happened. America splitting in two, being engulfed by a huge volcano, Yellowstone, although it very well could happen, right? So that's my point of view of that. The area would be around the Middle East according to the scriptures. Now, did you guys know that Robert Ballard, the man who was the first man to discover the ruins of the Titanic, he is a genius when it comes to discovering evidence underwater. A genius. I mean, who else? The guy found the Titanic in the middle of pretty much nowhere, okay? So after he found the Titanic, did you guys know that he went on a search for evidence of Noah's flood? Guess where he went? He strategically only went to the Middle East and to the Mediterranean Sea. And he said there's evidence there of a major flood that dated back to the time of Noah. So there's this hardcore scientific evidence, but only in the Middle East, according to Robert Ballard. Thank you for your question, Huberts. Awesome stuff. Chipmunk says, I've heard of it being DNA versus actual animals. Wow, okay. Again, I would be asking lots of questions because DNA can be so small you can't even see it. So yeah, so if you say that there's DNA, like, I'd be asking lots of questions to try to rule out everything else other than like to say I would want to rule out that they're just making that up to make their interpretation of the text work. You know what I mean? Like, for example, statistically, mathematically, scientifically speaking, this is more than just a typical glass, as you can see, but in any glass of water, if you go just get a glass of water, just a typical standard size glass of water, did you know that the molecules of the water, statistically, scientifically, that you have in your hand, I can say this, the water that you see right here contains molecules that went through the body of Jesus. The water that I have in my hand right now contains the molecules, H2O, of the water that Noah actually drank. Adam drank. Peter, James, and John drank. Genghis Khan. because the idea is there are more molecules of water in a single glass of water than there are cups of water in the world. You know? So if you really want to try to make it work, I can say, hey, I got a piece of everybody, all of the historical figures right now, right here. You know what I mean? Like you can try to make it work. If they can provide evidence for that, then that's awesome. I'll believe it. I will believe it. But if they can't provide evidence for that, what I would say is, people, this is just a sign that they're so desperate to make their Bible story work, at least how they understand it. They're so desperate to make it work, they'll make anything up to make it work. Chipmunk says, if it was local, that means that makes sense to save animals in that area. Yes, that's what, yeah, and that would make sense why that, and that would, then they would all comfortably fit on the ark. And that would answer lots of other questions. That would answer so many other questions. There's so many different objections to the whole flood of Noah thing. And I just named a few, like the size of the ark and where did all the water go? I mean, it would have taken how much more water? Let me do a calculation here. Let me do a calculation. Okay, let me think here. If there was enough water on the earth to cover the whole earth and cover the top of Mount Everest, how much water would it take compared to what we have today? How much more water would be needed to cover all of the mountains, including the top of Mount Everest? That's the question. See if we can come up with a mathematical equation here. How much would that be? Chipmunk says, very good point, Christopher. And that was from earlier. Thank you, Chipmunk. Okay, I got something here. Current water volume versus required water volume. The Earth currently holds approximately 1.386 billion cubic kilometers of water in its oceans, ice caps, rivers, lakes, and atmosphere. Excuse me. To cover the entire globe to the height of Mount Everest peak, that's about 8.85 kilometers above sea level, a volume of roughly 4.513 billion cubic kilometers of water would be needed. This means we would need approximately 3.26 times our planet's current water supply. To put it another way, an additional 3.127 billion cubic kilometers of water would be required to achieve this flood of epic proportions. This immense volume of water would be enough to fill the Grand Canyon over 750,000 times. This scenario highlights the vastness of the Earth's oceans and the sheer scale of its topography, emphasizing that while water covers about 71% of the surface, the volume required to inundate all land masses to such a depth is truly colossal. So yeah, if the flood of Noah was literally worldwide, every land was covered, everything was covered, literally, in a universal, all-inclusive sense. Where did all that water go? Where'd it go? So we're only left with what? A quarter of that's what's needed? Where did 3/4 of it go? And how do you know? Right? Thank you, guys. Chipmunk says, I hate that people won't even think about coming to God just based off of Noah's Ark. Yeah, it's true. It's true. There are people that is their major hang-up. And yet, once again, I think it's a hang-up based on just as uninformed, hyper-literal interpretation of an English translation. Because here's another question. Like, so the Jews, knowledgeable Jews, how many knowledgeable Jews believe that Noah's flood was absolutely global? Supposedly the highest mountain in it is in the ocean and taller than Mount Everest. Interesting. That's interesting. So I would suppose that would be like relative, like in its own size, right? So that wouldn't be highest in the sense of above sea level, but rather relative to its own size. Very interesting. Chipmunk. Thank you. Chipmunk says, I grew up hearing the water went through dinosaurs. Chipmunk says, I lean on the local belief. As I said many times, those tiny words like all can put a different view than it's meant to. That's another good point, Chipmunk. Many times we see the word all in the scriptures, and it doesn't, I know it sounds like I'm denying what it says, but I'm really not. If you look at it, like a lot of times when it says all, it means all in a relative, within a context, not literally all. Like, you know, like how Caesar, according to Luke, took a census of all the world, and all the world came to Caesar to pay taxes. That would not be the case. Chipmunk asks Veritas, what is gopher wood from Noah's Ark? And we have the answer right here. Gopher wood, mentioned in the Bible of Noah's Ark, is actually a type of wood whose exact identity is unknown. Scholars have debated it for centuries, with theories ranging from cypress to pine to a wood that's no longer extant. All right. Very interesting. Craig says, Shalom, shalom, family. Blessings and joy to you guys and your loved ones. Apologies for my spotty attendance for the last couple of weeks. Well, shalom, shalom. Welcome and blessings multiplied to you and your family, Craig. It's good to see you. Good to see you. As always, hope all is well. And Gemini says, could make a lot of jello with that water. That's for sure. Lots of jello with that water. That's it for sure. Okay, folks. Fasting. I do have a video that I put together here talking about our fast that's coming up. 3-day fast. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. September 18th, 19th, and 20th. Yeah, so here we go.
Join us Thursday, September 18th to Saturday, September 20th for a 3-day fast.
We're going to dedicate these 3 days to worldwide fasting and prayer. Mark it on your calendar.
Make sure you check with your doctor before you fast. Fasting can be very beneficial for lots of people, but fasting can be dangerous for some people.
If you can't fast food, you can always abstain from gossip, complaining, idle talk, slander, alcohol, or entertainment.
Make sure that you are subscribed. Christopher Enoch posts a new video every day, and he goes live every day. Don't miss it.
Looking forward to the fast, folks. Looking forward to the fast on Thursday. We're also going to have live music on Wednesday. Lord willing. We got a new song on the go, and Lord willing, we'll play the new song. It's actually a song about Charlie Kirk. It's a song about Charlie Kirk. We'll play it on Wednesday, Lord willing. All right, folks. So let's see. We were at verse 5 here in our readings here of the Book of Enoch. So Enoch is prophesying to his immediate descendants about the coming flood, saying that all unrighteousness will come to an end then. So again, this is another good example of the word all. This doesn't mean that all unrighteousness will come to an end forever, of course, as we all know. And it may not even mean all unrighteousness in all over the world either. It could just mean unrighteousness that's relative to their own geographical location. It says, "Yea, it shall be cut off from its roots, and its whole structure be destroyed, and unrighteousness shall again be consummated on the earth. And all the deeds of unrighteousness and of violence and transgression shall prevail in a twofold degree. And when sin and unrighteousness and blasphemy and violence and all kinds of deeds increase, and apostasy and transgression and uncleanness increase, a great chastisement shall come from heaven upon all these. And the holy Lord will come forth with wrath and chastisement to execute judgment on earth. In those days, violence shall be cut off from its roots, and the roots of unrighteousness together with deceit, and they shall be destroyed from under heaven. And all the idols of the heathen shall be abandoned, and the temples burned with fire. And they shall remove them from the whole earth, and they, that is the heathen, shall be cast into the judgment of fire, and shall perish in wrath and in grievous judgment forever. And the righteous shall arise from their sleep, and wisdom shall arise and be given unto them. And after that, the roots of unrighteousness shall be cut off, and the sinners shall be destroyed by the sword, shall be cut off from the blasphemers in every place, and those who plan violence and those who commit blasphemy shall perish by the sword. And after that, there shall be another, an 8th week, that of righteousness. And a sword shall be given to it, that a righteous judgment may be executed on the oppressors, and sinners shall be delivered into the hands of the righteous. Another visual for you folks. There we go, a sword given into the hands of the powerful, like lions, righteous people, as those who, the righteous shall be as bold as a lion. Verse 13, and at its close they shall acquire houses through their righteousness, and a house shall be built for the great king in glory forevermore. And all mankind shall look to the path of uprightness. And after that, in the 9th week, the righteous judgment shall be revealed to the whole world, and all the works of the godless shall vanish from all the earth. And the world shall be written down for destruction. And after this, in the 10th week, in the 7th part, there shall be the great eternal judgment, in which he will execute vengeance amongst the angels. And the first heaven shall depart and pass away, and a new heaven shall appear, and all the powers of the heavens shall give sevenfold light. Another visual for you. And after that, there will be many weeks without number forever. And all shall be in goodness and righteousness, and sin shall no more be mentioned forever. And now I tell you, my sons, and show you the paths of righteousness and the paths of violence, and I will show them to you again, that you may know what will come to pass. And now hearken unto me, my sons, and walk in the paths of righteousness, and walk not in the paths of violence. For all who walk in the paths of unrighteousness shall perish forever. Wow. Now I'm going to go over to the Richard Lawrence translation, and we'll read it from there. So this is chapter 90 in the Richard Lawrence translation, chapter 91 from the R.H. Charles, but chapter 90 from Richard Lawrence. Here we are. Verse 1, and now, my son Methuselah, call unto me all your brothers, and assemble for me all the children of your mother, for a voice calls me, and the Spirit is poured out upon me, that I may show you everything which shall happen to you forever. Then Methuselah went, called to him all his brothers, and assembled his kindred. And conversing with all his children in truth, Enoch said, hear, my children, every word of your father, and listen in uprightness to the voice of my mouth, for I would gain your attention while I address you. My beloved, be attached to integrity, and walk in it. Approach not integrity with a double heart, nor be associated with double-minded men, but walk, my children, in righteousness, which will conduct you in good paths, and be truth your companion. For I know that oppression will exist and prevail on the earth, and that on earth great punishment shall in the end take place, and that there shall be a consummation of all iniquity, which shall be cut off from its root. and every fabric raised by it shall pass away. Iniquity, however, shall again be renewed and consummated on earth. Every act of crime and every act of oppression and impiety shall be a second time embraced. When therefore iniquity, sin, blasphemy, tyranny, and every evil work shall increase, and when transgression, impiety, and uncleanness shall also increase, then upon them all shall great punishment be inflicted from heaven. The Holy Lord shall go forth in wrath, and upon them all shall great punishment from heaven be inflicted. The Holy Lord shall go forth in wrath and with punishment, and that he may execute judgment upon earth. In those days oppression shall be cut off from its roots, and iniquity with fraud shall be eradicated, perishing from under heaven. Every place of strength, or all idols of the nations, shall be surrendered with its inhabitants. With fire it shall be burned. They shall be brought from every part of the earth and be cast into a judgment of fire. They shall perish in wrath and by a judgment overpowering them forever. Righteousness shall be raised up from slumber, and wisdom shall be raised up and conferred upon them. Then shall the roots of iniquity be cut off, sinners perish by the sword, and blasphemers be annihilated everywhere. Those who mediate oppression and those who blaspheme by the sword shall perish. And now, my children, I will describe and point out to you the path of righteousness and the path of oppression. I will again point them out to you, that you may know what is to come. Hear now, my children, and walk in the path of righteousness, but shun that of oppression, for all who walk in the path of iniquity shall perish forever. Chapter 91. That which was written by Enoch, he wrote all this instruction of wisdom for every man of dignity, and every judge of the earth, for all my children who shall dwell upon earth, and for subsequent generations, conducting themselves uprightly and peaceably. Again, we have here, God makes it very clear who this is for, in what generation exactly. So here, God makes it very clear. This is for you, Enoch. This is for everyone that's living, those that are righteous in your day and age, and everyone else in the future. This is for everyone. So this is an amazing portion here of the book. I'll read it again. That which was written by Enoch, he wrote all this instruction of wisdom for every man of dignity and every judge of the earth, for all my children who shall dwell upon the earth, and for subsequent generations. In other words, for all generations, conducting themselves uprightly and peaceably. So this is for all the righteous people. The sinners need not apply here. Verse 2, let not your spirit be grieved on account of the times, for the Holy Great One has prescribed a period to all. Let the righteous man arise from slumber, let him arise and proceed in the path of righteousness in all its paths, and let him advance in goodness and eternal clemency. Mercy shall be showed to the righteous man. Upon him shall be conferred integrity and power forever. In goodness and in righteousness shall he exist, and shall walk in everlasting light. But sin shall perish in eternal darkness, nor be seen from that time forward forevermore. Back to the R.H. Charles, verse 1, the book written by Enoch. Enoch indeed wrote this complete doctrine of wisdom, which is praised of all men, and a judge of all the earth. Now look at this. So this is worded differently here, isn't it? So this is worded differently. So we got, in this one, we have it says, it's praised of all men and judge of all the earth. In the Richard Lawrence, it doesn't say it's praise for all men, but rather it is written for every man of dignity and every judge of the earth. So quite a bit different. Then it says, for all my children who shall dwell on the earth, under here. Okay. And for the future generations who shall observe uprightness and peace. Okay, so that part, the last part of it, matches the Richard Lawrence. Verse 2, let not your spirit be troubled on account of the times, for the Holy and Great One has appointed days for all things. And the righteous one shall arise from sleep, shall arise and walk in the paths of righteousness, and all his path and conversation shall be in eternal goodness and grace. He will be gracious to the righteous and give him eternal uprightness. And he will give him power so that he shall be endowed with goodness and righteousness, and he shall walk in eternal light. And sin shall perish in darkness forever, and shall no more be seen from that day forevermore. So this portion in here, so this would be verses 4 and 5. He will be gracious to the righteous and give him eternal uprightness, and he will give him power so that he shall be endowed with goodness and righteousness, and he shall walk in eternal light. And sin shall perish in darkness forever, and shall no more be seen from that day forevermore. So I do have another visual here for you guys. This depicting what we see here in the last part of verse 4 and in verse 5. The darkness, the gloom, the thick oily filth of symbolizing that of sin and unrighteousness being destroyed by the light and by the power of God. Chapter 93 from the R.H. Charles. And after that, Enoch both gave and began to recount from the books. And Enoch said, quote, concerning the children of righteousness, and concerning the elect of the world, and concerning the plant of uprightness, I will speak these things. Yea, I, Enoch, will declare them unto you, my sons, according to that which appeared to me in the heavenly vision, and which I have known through the word of the holy angels, and have learned from the heavenly tablets. So we got the heavenly tablets again. Keep in mind that the idea here is that the tablets, the heavenly tablets, existed in heaven, if you will, or in the spiritual realms, long before Moses cut out the tablets of stone that we read of in the book of Exodus. So it's like just a replica of the heavenly tablets. Verse 3, Enoch began to recount the books and said, I was born the seventh in the first week, while judgment and righteousness still endured. I was born the seventh. So this could be talking about the seventh from Adam, as it says in the book of Jude. Verse 4, after me there shall arise in the second week great wickedness. So this week is not what we think it is, right? It's not like a week, like as in 7 days. It could be talking about much more than that. It could be talking about 7 years, 7 jubilees, 7 centuries. Because in the ancient days, the word week just meant 7. It didn't tell you what exactly, 7 of what. It didn't tell you what, not like today where it's like we use the word week and everybody, they would interpret it to mean 7 days. Back in those days, it wasn't that way. The word week meant 7 of different things. In the Book of Jubilees, week would mean a week of Jubilees, which is 50 years. Okay. Verse 4, and after me there shall arise in the 2nd week great wickedness, and deceit shall have sprung up, and in it there shall be the first end. The first end, what? Check that out, folks. Could that mean that there's more than one end? We're talking, what does the Bible say about the end of the world? Again, what does that mean by the end of the world, right? What does that mean? Does that mean literally the end, like again, absolute, universal, literal end of all things forever? Or does that mean just one end of many ends? Because it talks about like this is the first end, which to me, at least it sounds like there are other ends. And in it a man shall be saved, and after it is ended, unrighteousness shall grow up. After it is ended, unrighteousness shall grow up, and a law shall be made for the sinners. And after that, in the 3rd week, at its close, a man shall be elected at the plant of righteous judgment, and his posterity shall become the plant of righteousness forevermore. And after that, in the 4th week, at its close, visions of the holy and righteous shall be seen, and a law for all generations, and an enclosure shall be made for them. What do you think this enclosure is? Would this be the ark? And after that, in the 5th week, at its close, the house of glory and dominion shall be built forever. And after that, in the 6th week, all who live in it shall be blinded. And the hearts of all shall godliness, and the hearts of all of them shall godlessly forsake wisdom. And in it a man shall ascend. And at its close, the house of dominion shall be burnt with fire, and the whole race of chosen roots shall be dispersed. And after that, in the 7th week, shall an apostate generation arise, and many shall be its deeds, and all its deeds shall be apostate. And at its close shall be elected the elect righteous of the eternal plant of righteousness, to receive 7-fold instruction concerning all his creation. For who is there of all the children of men that is able to hear the voice of the Holy One without being troubled? And who can think his thoughts? And who is there that can behold all the works of heaven? And how should there be one who could behold the heaven, and who is there that could understand the things of heaven, and see a soul or a spirit, or could tell thereof, or ascend and see all the ends, and think them to do like them? For who is there of all men that could know what is the breadth and the length of the earth, and to whom has it been shown the measure of all of them? Or is there anyone who can discern the length of the heaven, or how great is its height, and upon what is it founded? And how great is the number of the stars, and where all the luminaries rest? Wow. Kimber says that's deep. Yeah, that very much is. Chipmunk says sounds like the 144,000 to me, or at least those going out to preach. Definitely sounds like time now the way people are behaving. Wow, yeah. Yeah, that is very, very interesting. Okay, folks, we'll leave it there for tonight. Tomorrow we'll pick up again with that Richard Lawrence translation and comparing the R.H. Charles translation again. I have never studied the Book of Enoch like this, folks, not in this depth. I have read the Book of Enoch many times. I can't remember how many times I've read it. I've listened to audiobooks of it. Actually, I've even recorded an audiobook. I think it's on YouTube. I've recorded an entire audiobook of the Book of Enoch in which I read the Book of Enoch without any interruptions or breaks or any kind of commentary at all. Just read through the whole thing as audiobook style. So I've been through it many times, but never as deep as what we're doing in this study. Okay, folks. Well, yeah. Once again, if you haven't already, please leave a like, subscribe, and follow. If you're brand new here, please do understand we do this all the time by the grace of God and because of those who are supporting this channel as well. It's really not easy to do what I'm doing here as long as we've been doing. We're going on our 5th year, folks. We're going on our 5th year. To sacrifice the time and money that it takes to do what we do here. It's not as easy as it looks, folks. So thank you to all those of you who are supporting the channel, and if you are blessed by this channel in any way, shape, or form, please support the channel. Click the join button underneath, or click the link underneath to join and become a member. It really is very nominal, very, very, very affordable to do so. It's just like 12 cents a day. Who can't afford that? So your support helps, just pitching into the pot helps compensate for all that we do here, and helps pay the bills and all that kind of stuff. So thank you. We will, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're going to do a 3-day fast. A 3-day fast. I'm personally going to I'm just going to drink like liquids. Maybe like, I'm not going to, I'm just going to drink like water and like some non-sugar, like 0-calorie kind of electrolyte kind of stuff. More or less, like I don't want to really break the fast with that, but it's in the same way, just keep everything hydrated properly and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. But you can do whatever you can do, and please do not abstain from food and or water for extended periods of time without checking with your doctor first. The last thing I want to hear is anybody getting hurt by doing this. So don't do that. Some people cannot. Some people, for medical reasons, cannot fast. So check with your doctor first. If you can't fast by abstaining from food, then abstain from other things. Ask God, or you can just think about it yourself. What's the pleasure that I partake in, that I can sacrifice for 3 days, that I'm willing to sacrifice for 3 days? It is a sacrifice, folks. Fasting is a sacrifice, and fasting and prayer does do wonders. I myself have witnessed this firsthand. Okay, I have witnessed how powerful fasting and prayer is in my own life. All right, folks. So, yeah, that's it. And then this coming Wednesday, again, we have live music and new song. We are working on a new song. Lord willing, I don't want to make any super, I can't say for sure. It all depends on all kinds of different variables that happen. You know how it goes. But if everything goes well and as planned, we're going to be playing live music on Wednesday. And I'm working on a new song about Charlie Kirk. And Wednesday will be a full week since it happened. All right, folks. So, you guys are amazing. Keep on calling on him, and he will show you great and mighty things that you don't know, as it says in Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 3. Seek the Lord says, thank you for your time, Brother Christopher. God bless you and all here richly and abundantly. Thank you very much. Seek the Lord. God bless you more. Blessings multiplied to you and your family. Chipmunk, good thing I checked the YouTube live chat, because I'm thinking something tells me there's something that is not coming through here. I'm not sure what happens with this, but especially when if there's a message that's retracted, what happens? It looks like, oh yeah, that's what happened. When a message is retracted, it's a bug in the system here. All of the messages from that particular user disappears on me in the software, in the app. But on the live chat itself, I can see it. So Chipmunk says, amazing how many times we can study something and still get way more. Yes, it's true. A million gazillion blessings for your studies, Christopher. Enjoy this so much. Good rest, prosperity to all, and good laughs. Thank you very much, Chipmunk. Thank you. Blessings multiplied back to you as well. Chipmunk says, what exact time do we start the fast? Eastern time. Yeah. I am going to have my last meal Wednesday night. Wednesday night? Yeah. So Wednesday night will be my last meal. And then, yeah, so it'll be a 3-day fast from there. And that would be, yeah, so that'd be Eastern time for me. Thank you, Chipmunk, for asking. Appreciate that. Yeah, and let everyone know. I want everyone to know that they're welcome. Doesn't matter what background you're from, no matter what fellowship you're from, whatever the case is, as long as you're a person who loves God, you don't mind studying the scriptures like how we do here, quote unquote, the Bible and other such texts, and you love to pray, as long as you fit into that, as long as those three things match your profile, then welcome. Y'all are welcome to join. Worldwide fast, folks. Everyone is welcome. Chipmunk says, often my messages double, so I delete the actual ones. Okay. Oh, thank you for letting me know. Yeah, I'm sorry, Chipmunk. It's not your fault. It's just, again, there's a bug here on this system. So whenever somebody retracts something, and maybe, and for those of you, this happened before. This probably did happen before in the past, where somebody wrote something, then they retracted it, and I never saw any of their messages, because as soon as they retract one message, for some reason, all of them disappear on my main screen. It's just everything's gone. I didn't even know that they would say anything. Hopefully that gets fixed soon. And thank you, Chipmunk, for letting me know. All right, folks. Love you guys. You guys are amazing. World changers. Good health. Long life to you. KHPN says, is this live? Do you read chat? I think I answered your question there. But this is the last few seconds of this live stream. Make sure you're following. Make sure you're subscribed. We're going to come back tomorrow night. Make sure you got those notifications on. I pray the Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face to shine upon you. Lift up his countenance upon you. and give you wonderful, wonderful shalom. Amen, amen. We'll see you guys tomorrow.